Last summer, I booked a solo trip to a small coastal town in Oregon called Grey Haven. It wasn't popular, which is exactly why I chose it. No crowds, no noise, just cliffs, fog, and the ocean. I found a cheap rental online, an old house sitting alone near the edge of a rocky shoreline. The listing barely had reviews, but the photos looked peaceful. Too peaceful, maybe. The owner, a woman named Claire Hensley, messaged me a code for the lockbox and told me she'd be out of town. That was the first strange thing. No greeting, no instructions, just the code. I arrived just before sunset. The house looked older than the pictures. Paint peeling windows, slightly fogged from the inside. But I had already paid, and honestly I liked the isolation. Inside it smelled stale, like the air hadn't moved in weeks. I opened windows, set my bag down, and tried to shake the uneasy feeling. That night I kept hearing something. At first I thought it was the ocean, waves crashing, wind hitting the walls. But around midnight, I woke up to something different. Footsteps. Not outside. Inside. Slow. Careful. Like someone was walking barefoot across the wooden floor. I froze in bed, staring at the door. The footsteps stopped right outside my room. I remember holding my breath, waiting for the handle to turn, but it didn't. After a minute, the steps slowly moved away toward the living room. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. Every part of me wanted to stay in that room, but I couldn't ignore it. I stepped into the hallway. Nothing. The house was silent again. I checked every room. Closets, bathroom, even under the couch. Empty. I barely slept after that. The next morning I told myself it was just the house settling. Old wood, ocean, air, my imagination. I even laughed it off while making coffee. But then I noticed something that didn't make sense. My suitcase. I always keep it zipped. Always. But it was open, and a few of my clothes were missing. At first I thought maybe I unpacked half asleep, but I knew I hadn't. I checked everywhere. Gone. That's when the feeling came back. That same tight, cold feeling in my chest. I messaged Claire. No response. I decided to leave the house for a while. I spent most of the day exploring the cliffs, trying to clear my head. The town itself fell off too. People didn't make eye contact. One older man at a gas station asked where I was staying. When I told him, his expression changed. He didn't say much, just nodded slowly and said, "Don't stay there too long." That stuck with me. I went back just before dark, and that's when things got worse. The front door was unlocked. I was sure I'd locked it. I even checked it twice before leaving. But now it was slightly open, just enough for the wind to push it back and forth with a soft creaking sound. Inside, the air felt colder, heavier. I stepped in slowly, calling out, "Hello." No answer, but something was different. The furniture had moved. Not drastically, but enough. The chair near the window was turned toward the hallway. The couch cushions looked pressed down like someone had been sitting there, watching. That's when I noticed it. On the wall near the kitchen, written in something dark, "You came back." My stomach dropped. I hadn't written that. And I knew I wasn't alone. I didn't think. I just grabbed my keys and stepped back outside. But I didn't leave. That's the part one still can't explain. Something in me needed to understand what was happening. Maybe it was denial. Maybe fear had already messed with my head. I stood outside for a few minutes staring at the house. No lights were on inside, but I felt like someone was watching me through those fogged windows. I told myself I'd go and grab my things and leave immediately. Nothing more. I pushed the door open again, slower this time. "Hello." I called out. Silence. The message on the wall was still there. Dark, uneven letters. I stepped closer and realized it wasn't paint. It looked like dirt, or something worse. I didn't touch it. I moved quickly, my room, heart pounding, and grabbed my bag. My clothes were still missing. That didn't matter anymore. As I turned to leave, I heard it again. Footsteps. This time louder, right above me. But there was no upstairs. The house was one floor. I had checked. The steps dragged slowly across the ceiling, directly over my head, following me as I moved toward the hallway. I stopped. They stopped. I took another step. They followed. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my body locked in place. Then came the sound I'll never forget. A soft whisper, right above me. "You shouldn't have come back." I ran. I didn't even look back. I bolted out the front door, jumped into my car, and drove straight into town. I didn't stop until I reached a small motel near the highway. The woman at the front desk looked at me like she already knew something was wrong. When I told her where I'd been staying, her face went pale. She said that house had been empty for years. The owner, Claire Hensley, had disappeared. No one had seen her in over a decade. But that wasn't the worst part. According to her, people still reported lights turning on inside that house. And sometimes, visitors, travelers who booked it online. Some left early like me. Others didn't check out at all. I reported everything the next morning. The listing was gone by the time I tried to pull it up. Completely erased. No record. No messages. Nothing. Even the payment trace was missing. Like the house didn't want to be found. I left Gray Haven that same day. I haven't gone back to Oregon since. But sometimes late at night, I still wake up to a sound I can't explain. Slow footsteps, moving just outside my bedroom door. And every time I remember that message on the wall, "You came back." Because somehow, it feels like I never really left that place. Like something followed me home, and it's still waiting, listening, right outside my door. It was my friend Joseph's idea. He said we all needed a break after working nonstop for months. A quiet vacation somewhere peaceful away from the noise. He found this cabin listing online tucked deep in the woods of northern Vermont. Cheap. Too cheap, honestly. But the photos looked perfect. Clean. Cozy. Safe. That was the first lie. It was me, Joseph, his girlfriend Jenna, and my cousin Olivia. 4 of us packed in a Joseph SUV, joking the whole way there like nothing could go wrong. The further we drove, the quieter it got. No traffic. No people. No signal. By the time we turned onto the dirt road leading to the cabin, it was already getting dark. The road felt wrong. Narrow. Overgrown. Like it hadn't been used in years. Branches scraped against the sides of the car loud enough to make Olivia flinch in the back seat. "Are you sure this is the right place?" she asked. Joseph checked his phone. "Yeah, GPS says just ahead." We saw the cabin about a minute later. It didn't look like the photos. The structure was there, sure. Same shape, same porch, but everything looked older. Rotting wood, broken railing. One of the windows boarded up from the inside. The kind of place that makes your stomach tighten before your brain catches up. "No way this is it," Jenna said quietly. But it was. The key was exactly where the host said it would be. Under a loose stone near the porch steps. That part matched. Inside it smelled stale. Not like a cabin that had been recently cleaned. More like something closed off for years. The air felt thick. Heavy. Probably just hasn't been aired out. Joseph said, forcing a laugh. We should have left right then. Instead, we convinced ourselves it was fine. We opened windows, turned on lights, tried to make it feel normal. The electricity worked, but the lights flickered sometimes like they were struggling. That night we stayed up late. Talking, drinking, tried to shake off that weird feeling. Around 1:30 a.m. Olivia said she heard something outside. A soft crunch, like footsteps on gravel. We all went quiet. Probably an animal, Joseph said quickly. But then it happened again. Crunch, pause, crunch. Slow, measured, like someone walking and stopping. Right outside the cabin. Jenna grabbed Joseph's arm. That's not an animal. No one moved for a few seconds. Then Joseph stood up. I'll check. I told him not to. He ignored me. He walked to the front door and opened it just a few inches. The porch light flickered on, barely lighting the area. Nothing. Just trees. Darkness. Silence. He stepped outside. See? No one's. He stopped mid-sentence. What? I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he slowly stepped back inside and shut the door. Locked it. What did you see? Olivia asked, her voice shaking. Joseph looked at us, his face pale. "There are footprints," he said, "right up to the porch." "So," Jenna said, "they don't lead away." The room went completely still. No one laughed this time. No one had an explanation. And then, there was a knock. 3 slow taps on the door. Not loud, not aggressive, just deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. We all froze. Another knock came. Same rhythm. And then a voice. Soft, almost calm. "Hello." It didn't sound threatening. That's what made it worse. Because we hadn't seen anyone out there. And there was no car, no lights, no reason for anyone to be in the middle of nowhere. At nearly 2 a.m., Joseph whispered, "Don't answer." The voice came again. "Please, I need help." Olivia shook her head instantly. No, don't open it." Something about the voice felt off. Too steady, too controlled, like it was trying to sound normal, but missing something. We stayed completely silent. After a minute, the knocking stopped. The voice didn't come back. We thought that was the end of it. It wasn't, because about 10 minutes later, we heard footsteps again. But this time, they weren't outside. They were coming from the hallway. At first, I thought I imagined it. A faint creak, then another. The hallway was just past the living room, leading to the 2 bedrooms and a small bathroom. We had all been sitting together the entire time. No one had gone down there. Joseph stood up slowly. "Did anyone?" "No," Jenna said immediately. The sound came again. A soft step. Inside the cabin. Olivia grabbed my arm so tight it hurt. "Someone's in here." "That's not possible," Joseph said, but his voice didn't sound convincing anymore. He grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer. His hand was shaking now. "I'm checking." "No," I said. "Don't go alone." But he was already moving. I followed him. I don't know why. Maybe because standing still felt worse. We stepped into the hallway. It was darker than the rest of the cabin. The overhead light flickered, barely holding on. Shadows stretched along the walls in ways that didn't feel right. Joseph shined the flashlight down the hall. Empty, but the bathroom door at the end was slightly open. It hadn't been like that before. I closed that. Jenna called from behind us. We moved closer, step by step. The floor creaked under our weight loud enough to make my chest tighten. Joseph reached the door and slowly pushed it open. The light inside flickered on. Nothing. Empty. But the window. It was wide open. Cold air poured in, carrying that same heavy smell from outside. "There's no way," Joseph whispered. That window was small. Too small for anyone to climb through. At least that's what I thought. Then we heard it again. Behind us. A step. We both turned instantly. The hallway was empty, but the living room lights had gone out. "Jenna," Joseph called. No response. "Olivia." Still nothing. We rushed back. The living room was dark now. Completely dark except for the faint light coming from the kitchen. "Guys," I said. No answer. My heart started pounding, so hard I could hear it in my ears. Then, from the corner of the room, a shape moved, just slightly. Joseph swung the flashlight toward it. Nothing, but something had been there. "I know it. Where are they?" I whispered. And then, we heard Jenna scream. From outside, both of us ran to the door and threw it open. The porch was empty, but the scream came again. From the woods. Joseph started running. "Joseph, stop!" I yelled. He didn't. I followed him anyway. We ran toward the sound, branches hitting our faces, feet slipping on the ground. The darkness felt thicker out there, like it was swallowing the light from the flashlight. "Jenna!" Joseph shouted. No reply, just silence. Then Olivia's voice came. "Help me," from a different direction. We stopped. Both voices were coming from opposite sides of the woods. That's when it hit me. "They're not real," I said. Joseph looked at me confused. "What? That's not them." Right as I said it, both voices stopped. At the same time, complete silence. And then, right behind us, that same calm voice from the door whispered, "Why didn't you let me in?" Joseph turned instantly, swinging the flashlight. For a split second, I saw something. Tall. Too thin. Standing between the trees. Its face didn't look right. Like it was trying to copy a human expression, but failing. Then the light flickered, and it was gone. We ran. I don't even remember how we got back to the car. We didn't pack anything. Didn't look back. Joseph drove like he was going to crash, and honestly, I didn't care. We didn't stop until we reached a gas station miles away. Jenna and Olivia were already there, sitting inside, safe. They said they never left the cabin. They said the lights just went out, and we disappeared. We never went back to that place. Joseph tried contacting the host. The listing was gone. No record of it anywhere. And the worst part? A week later, Olivia sent me a picture she took that night. From inside the cabin. In the background, through the hallway, you can see something standing there, watching us, waiting.